Take us away, Ludwig.
Let's up those numbers!
In 2014, Google acquired DeepMind, a secretive, London-based AI research lab for around $500 million. And after the acquisition, DeepMind's research became a lot less open. People started getting a little scared. Google now had the best AI models and nobody knew what they were going to do with them. Google already controlled the global flow of information via search and ads, giving them first dibs on AGI, artificial general intelligence, the wet dream of every CEO. Point where you can replace your entire staff with something that works 24/7, never unionizes, doesn't email you about the cost of living adjustments. And it wasn't that they'll just build AGI. They'll build it, they'll lock it up, and then they'll rent it back to us with ads. You could hire a lawyer, or a therapist, or just get Google Premium. Oh my days. DeepMind promised to create an AI ethics board when they were acquired. Then, quietly never said who was on it, or what it did, or if it even existed outside of the press release. We don't know. The only thing we ever really got was DeepMind's blog post reaffirming that safety is important, which is like a casino saying they'd like to enforce responsible gambling. Yeah. In 2015, a group of very rich, very paranoid nerds looked at Google and said, hey, what if we also build God, but like ethically? We're going to be really transparent about it. Until we aren't, but for now we are.
Shite.
And that's how OpenAI was founded, by former Reddit CEO Sam Altman and Path of Exile streamer Elon Musk.
Anyone spamming the chat? Let me get
And some other people. And you know it's ethical because they structured it as a non-profit, and it has open in the name. They raised $1 billion in donations from tech royalty like Elon and Reid Hoffman, and it wouldn't be monetized, it wouldn't be closed source, and it wouldn't become a tech monopoly. Not even 3 years later, Elon was chomping at the bit to acquire the whole thing for himself. OpenAI was a non-profit, so they were bleeding money on research. Turns out, developing AI is very expensive, mostly because every time you train a model, Nvidia buys another yacht. They were starting to fall behind Google DeepMind, and they needed massive computing scale to keep up. Elon offered to take over OpenAI himself. He argued they should fold into Tesla since Tesla was already working on AI for their self-driving cars. That would be releasing in 2016? 2018? 2020? 2021? No, I'm pretty sure he said 2026. Definitely by 26. He believed Tesla was better equipped to scale it into something powerful. While TLDR, the OpenAI board said no, and in classic gamer fashion, he rage quit. But with Elon's money gone, they couldn't really pay for the thousands of GPUs they needed to develop the AI. So in 2019, they came up with a business structure. A capped profit, for-profit, controlled by a non-profit. If that sounds confusing, that's because it's a for-profit owned by a non-profit that's still allowed to make profit, just not unlimited profit, because that would be unethical? Anyway, investors could only make returns of up to 100x, because at 101, your name shows up on a list made by the Democrats. Microsoft also swooped in to be the new sugar daddy with $1 billion. In exchange, they got exclusive commercial licensing of OpenAI's models. OpenAI was still open as long as you were Microsoft. For everyone else, it was closed. New models started being released. GPT-2 dropped in 2019. Mostly wrote terrible fan fiction and food blogs. The world survived. 2020, GPT-3, bigger. Finally good enough to be wrong, but with confidence. They opened up API access. What is that? It means you don't get the real thing. You can't interact with it directly on your own terms. You only get controlled, metered access through a service that they run, and you pay for every interaction. It's basically like not being allowed to interact with the girl of your dreams in real life. But you can still pay for OnlyFans. Unless you're Microsoft, you get access to the back end. Now, every startup could just slap a wrapper on GPT-3 and call it a company. November 30th, 2022. Some might say this is the beginning of the end.
I'm calling it the end.
Dun, dun, dun.
ChatGPT 3.5 drops out of nowhere. No press, no hype, just a chatbot. This is the iteration of the AI that most of us began and got familiar with. 1 million users in 5 days. People use it for everything: essays, emails, business plans, breakup texts. It's the fastest growing app in history. And this was just 3.5. 2023, GPT-4. Again, no fireworks, they just update the blog and let Twitter implode. GPT-4 is smarter, less likely to tell you it's a giraffe, but still invents facts like a TikTok health influencer with ring lights. People test it by making it take the bar exam, SAT, MCAT, all successful. Alongside GPT-4, they also launched plugins, kind of like a ChatGPT app store. Now it could order food, book trips, search scientific data, pull info from business tools. Suddenly, every company wanted AI integration, even if their products made no sense in ChatGPT. Most of them were rushed, barely worked. They existed just so brands could say they had AI. And OpenAI stopped feeling like a research lab and started feeling like a company trying to sell you stuff, like for profit. In November 2023, the OpenAI board, which is technically part of the nonprofit parent that controls the for-profit arm, announces Sam Altman is out as CEO. Official reason, he was not consistently candid in his communications with the board. No concrete examples were given though, made about as much sense as a moody girlfriend. Pandemonium reigned for a week, but in the end, it was a complete 180. Sam is reinstated as CEO, and most of the board that fired him is replaced with new members more aligned with him. In late 2024, they want to go full mask off and go away from nonprofit control. Elon Musk pops back in and says he'll buy them if they don't stay nonprofit. They say no. He calls them swindlers. Takes one to know one, I guess. But in May this year, they backed off the fully for-profit move. Recently, OpenAI has been rumoring that they think ChatGPT-5 is AGI. It's going to be super duper smart, especially at coding, so if you're a programmer, you're going to have to put the fries in the bag, literally. Here's why that matters. Back in the original partnership between Microsoft and OpenAI, they agreed that if AGI was ever created, all bets are off. OpenAI can run for the hills and do whatever, and Microsoft could do nothing to stop them. Why would Microsoft agree to a clause like that? Don't know. Trouble is, nobody kind of agrees on what AGI is. It's not a number, it's not a benchmark, it's basically just a vibe. So OpenAI has been saying, we think ChatGPT-5 is AGI, and Microsoft is saying, no, it's not, it's just a glorified chatbot. 5 recently dropped this month, and it turns out it's just all the versions of 4 consolidated into one. It feels more like a cost-cutting exercise than an upgrade, but what can you expect from a company prioritizing profit? Alright, I'm done.